Funk with the truth of the music.
And it makes me sick. I get physically ill. So I go to the bar and I drink more. I said, how can I fight all this shit alone by myself? I need a crew of motherfuckers that is with me, believe in me, and believe in the music and believe in the spirit of God, which should make all kind of things happen in the world. Everybody in the world forgot about God with all this bullshit and false religion in the world. Everything that you see on this particular beautiful video and performance, it will be triple rated X, multiple rated X truth. Unadulterated in all my expressions will be multiple rated X. And those who have kids and they need their parents to be present at the time, please do. You'll enjoy the show. Sonny Simmons looking at you in the world.
We can still make a difference. The individual can still make a difference. Sonny Simmons has made a difference. That's why we love him. And that's why it's important to celebrate him, because the children need to know that there were people like Sonny Simmons, fearless people. I came from a Baptist family in the deep south of the backwoods of Sicily Island, Louisiana. Multiple rated true. Growing up as a kid, I was very inclined about music. And my dad was a great preacher. Everybody in the backwoods loved Jake Simmons, Reverend Jake Simmons. They respected him, and the guy had a lot of class. Even though we was living among a lot of killers and people who are very depraved in raciality and racism, my dad had managed to overcome that for a long period of time through his character and conduct and the way he would manipulate and articulate of dealing with people's intelligence. He would make everybody feel relaxed. I'm no threat. I'm cool. I'm a reverend. I believe in God. He would come off like that, and the white folks would give him respect. Now, my mother, she was a hellcat. She believed in going and getting the gun. So I grew up in this environment on a rich farm. I didn't grow up poor because I was in the backwoods world. Other than that, I was in the environment of music, and I loved it. And not only that, from a human point of view of playing music, the music of the wild creatures in the backwood and the singing cranes and all these beautiful birds God created, they had a symphony going that unbelievably influenced me for life, for its music. I heard my greatest music in nature, in the backwoods of Sicily Island, Louisiana, growing up with my beautiful parents. So I remained musical. I think I was born musical. And to this day, I will only recognize the truth of a great expression in music of improvisation or composition if it's moving through the accurate laws of harmony, lines and spaces with truth. Other than that, the other type of music that I'm hearing today, which I'm one of the founding fathers of the avant-garde, as they would say, or the new music, as they would say. Nobody even gives a damn. They don't even believe it. Check out my history. You'll see. I started far back as 1966. Is that further enough for you? Staying on the watch. With my ex-wife, Barbara Donald, greatest trumpet player, female in the world at that time. My people was very musical. My mother sung in the choir. She was the first vocalist in the church choir. My daddy was the greatest vocalist in all the church. He could sing better than any of the preachers and preach better than any of the preachers. And everybody loved J.S. Reverend Simmons. And he played drums in church. And back in those days, they would call them traps. However, music stayed with me, and I steadily kept evolving through the years. And since my dad was such a great moving kind of preacher, he didn't stay at the backwoods and preach at the same Baptist church every Sunday or any day of the part of the week. he was moving because a lot of people wanted to be at this convention, this preaching convention, because they heard about this great preacher from the backwoods. So he was always moving, and he would send for us. So we moved us out of the backwoods. Hallelujah, amen. Multiple-rated children. Growing up in Oakland, I didn't have too much help from nobody, man, within the music world. Miss Prissy asked John Handy III, this motherfucker never would, he could pretend he gonna give me a lesson when we was in high school. This motherfucker come up and practice in my room and show off, play all this bebop bird stuff, man, beautiful, but I never learned anything from him. He never told me nothing. So I fired him after the $5 lesson. I paid him and let him go. And I never fucked with him no more. And so coming up in Oakland, I learned everything by listening to Bird records. Great jazz saxophonists in the world, especially from America only. But I'm gonna tell you something, man, I was sort of a lone wolf artist during that period, growing up as a teenager, because I got a pocket full of paticate, which they call reefer or marijuana, and I'm listening to Charlie Parker dial labels. I have an old raggedy tenor saxophone. Actually, my true instrument is kaongle. So I was always attracted to the kaongle sound from the 30s of listening to the radio at my parents' house. So I'm very aware of my upbringing. And this all got something to do with music. So when we arrived in Oakland in 1944, it was raining in October. The war was raging in Europe, and I didn't give a fuck, because I heard about it in 1936 on an old wooden radio. And so I grew up in Oakland from the age of 8, 9, and in this house they had an old Victrola box. Kind you crank. They had the dog on the thing. You dig? It's a Victor, something kind of shit. And they had all these old classical records. They was thick and very waxy, black. I ain't never seen no shit like that, but I knew it had something to do with music, so I put the motherfuckers on, played one of them, knock me out. So I fell in love with the Victrola box in the home. And I drove my mother and dad crazy. All I did was play that all the time, day and night. The bebop era arrived, and I'm right in the middle of it because I'm studying birds. I'm trying to figure out how Bird played the saxophone, but I'm truly a double reed player because I love the kaongle.
On the life of the great American master, Sonny Simmons. I would say this. One, in the time period of the 1960s, when I was in the Army, and in a transition in my own life, trying to figure out which way to go. My mother was sending me records, and I was finding records in the PX in Seoul, Korea. I found the record Illuminations. It was further confirmation to me that something was happening in America, that the music of John Coltrane had accelerated to the point where new things were starting to spin out of it, the great music of Albert Ayler, and suddenly I'm learning about the great work of Prince Lachey and Sonny Simmons. And so in that time period, when I was able to work a little bit, I found myself on the West Coast in Los Angeles. I got with the great American master, Les Koenig. I got to know Mr. Koenig. He was a very beautiful man. I recall many times being with Lester and asking him questions. For instance, he recorded Ornette Coleman, the first two records on Contemporary. And Lester talked to me at length about the great musics of Sonny Simmons, because I was very, very interested in Sonny Simmons immediately after the Illuminations record. And Lester would talk to me about the Firebirds record and about the experiences that Sonny Simmons would have in California in that time period. And we both agreed that in Sonny Simmons we were talking about a very, very important American artist whose work reflected on many different components in creative music from a global perspective.
Beautiful Lester Koenig, never forget that brother, man. President of Contemporary Records, man. That was a beautiful brother, man. He was an artiste. He was so talented in business, he could exist in film, and they put him out of film simply because he told me once in the privacy of his office that someone branded him as a communist during his period. In the cinema world, like, you dig the biggest Paramount, you dig Century Fox and all of, they fired him. And he was a young cat working in the cinema, and he loved jazz. And when they branded him as a communist and he was killing and firing communists, anybody who was discovered as a communist at that time, Lester Koenig was branded. He had this brother living in Beverly Hills, man, in a mansion. He's a communist, right? You dig, he was a brilliant cinematographer, master, and they fired him, so he said he loved jazz. He opened up a record company called Contemporary Records. Beautiful Lester Koenig. Never will forget that brother, man. That's the only record producer I ever dealt with in my life that was righteous. Yeah, he recorded me when I was a young guy. I think I was about 28 or 29. The record is called The Cry. Now, I knew about Ornette Coleman, and I knew about Dolphy, all those brothers. They was innovators. They wasn't just saxophonists. Not knowing that, years later I found out that I was an innovator, which was very approving to me because of the struggle I've had through the years and how I remained true with love towards the music and love towards humanity globally, and hoping that some of this music will reach them and heal their lives and make them feel good. I thought I was ready to go to New York. So in 1963, it was in April. Prince Lachey, some kind of way, came from Los Angeles and found me in Oakland, and we hooked up because he knew Arnett. And Arnett was already in New York, making a name for himself and recording and working. And that's where a new drama in my life began. As coming to New York as a young guy, bright-eyed, curly-haired, and good-looking, strong as an ox. Loved the guys, all my heroes are there. So when I first got to New York, we was living on East 23rd, 2nd Avenue. A brother that knew about the album liked it, or some kind of way he found out we was in New York, and he contacted me. I think Prince Lachey found out. And he gave us a place to stay. He gave us his whole apartment. And the word went out that we young gunsers in New York, young guns, or whatever they want to say it as, you know. And they ain't working nowhere, but they can play. They ain't working nowhere, and they ain't got nothing. So Dolphy found out about it. This is America. I will never forget this. This is 1963. And Dolphy, he came by in his little Volkswagen Bug one night with a box in his hand, and he had all kind of canned foods and groceries and different things to eat. I was amazed, so I looked out the window and there's Dolphy out there saying, let him in. So we let him in. He came on up a couple of flights with a box of food to give us. He heard about it. We didn't even call his brother. I wouldn't have dared done that anyway. He's my hero. Should have got much more than he had, than he received. Extraordinary musician. World greatest clarinetist, flautist, and alto saxophonist, and composer. I mean, here you got a multi-breasted musician here. And he's bringing food to Prince Lachey and myself. That was a great, warm New York greeting from musicians, not from the system or fans or so-called jazz lovers and that kind of shit. It was just a gesture of friendship and love and concern because he had heard the record. I think he had went and bought it. I was amazed because he's such a beautiful, saintly kind of brother, full of warmth and love. And we grew to love and respect each other. And so time went on in New York. I think that was about, that was 1963 after the April meeting with Eric Dolphy trying to give us something to eat. Since we just first got to New York and we didn't know nothing to know about it, you know. I know I didn't. Prince Lachey seemed to think he knew everybody, but that panned out later on, but not at that particular time. We get to New York, man, these cats had already heard it, and I'm listening to Dolphy's records on the West Coast, growing up trying to learn how to play it, like Charlie Parker and Thelonious Monk. And all the brothers, great artists, have influenced me, not just one. The chief and the father of it all is Charlie Parker. You dig? So when we get to New York, Dolphy said, I heard your record, man, everything's cool. We hanging out the Fire Spot, which was on St. Mark's Place, 2nd Avenue, in Cooper Union. It was hippie days, man. It was Flower Kids. It was plenty of acid. They got the Who across the street. They got Jimi Hendrix at the Circus, the Electric Circus. They got all kind of shit on St. Mark's Place and 2nd Avenue in Cooper Union. Archie Shepp and Bill Dixon live around the corner. You dig? J.C. Moses up the street on the Lower East Side. Just all kind of brother. Clifford Jordan is, you know, way up on 23rd and 2nd Avenue on the east side. You dig it? And this kind of shit's going on, man. I'm through. Coltrane's living in Queens in this brick home because his wife took me over there. There's all kind of shit in America going on at that time. In the 60s, they got the Flower Kids, and they getting the motherfuckers dropping acid. We're having a good time. We got all these giant Coltrane's live, Eric Dolphy live, Mingus live, Monk live, all these niggas is playing, and they true creative black American artists. And they doing it, man. I'm a young cat in the mix. And I'm being with all these great guys, you know, and they love me because I didn't use drugs. I didn't need no drugs to play, just spirit. This is ages ago. With the late, great impresario of saxophone, reed instrument, plus woodwind, Eric Dolphy, man.
And the cats dug me, man, because they saw that I was a clean bird. I didn't use no drugs. I didn't even use the word motherfucker in the cats' present car. I had all these cats' albums in my library in Oakland, in my parents' home, man. And I listened to them every day. That's all I ever did was listen to these cats and practice. So these cats are my hero. When I get to New York, man, and they glorifying me and accepting me fresh, just like that. On a heartbeat, man, I couldn't believe this shit was happening. And along with it, that's Judas Prince Lachey with me. You dig it? You know? And he's maneuvering this and he's maneuvering a lot of shit. He's a great maneuverer. You dig? And a con artist. You dig? But the music is lacking. So I went on along with the program, you dig? But Dolphy took us all on a date, man. And, came over and visited us back in 1963. Okay, so we get on the date. We got all these elite stars, man. We have Eric Dolphy, the maestro, Richard Davis. We got Clifford Jordan. And then we have me here in the marquee, Huey Simmons. This is true history. And we have Judas Prince Lachey. During the date was brilliant, and it was the first time I got a chance to introduce one of my compositions I've written called Music Matador. And Prince Lachey, Judas Prince Lachey, he claimed he'd done it. You see the conflict there of interest and brotherlyhood and dedication to the music? He's after the buck like he's a motherfucking hungry merchant. Why you want to rip me off? I'm the brother that led the show with you, motherfucker. If I hadn't been cool, your ass would have been down a long time ago. Now you're still down. You can't get up no more because it's over. Because he's living in darkness. You got to play this music true and real. You're not going to survive to do it. And so here we are today. And this is what happened, man. The date went off beautiful. And Alan Douglas came out in the studio one day, second day we was there to do Iron Man. And he came out and screamed at Eric and treated him like a dog. Now, I'm with this brother. I'm fresh from Oakland. I'm young, big, black, beautiful nigga. And I don't play no shit because I raised on the street. And Moses was the same way. That's why I love J.C. Moses. He was a stand-up motherfucker with intelligence, dignity, but he will kick your ass. Moses said, son, how you feel about it? I said, man, I'm pissed at the motherfucker the way this motherfucker talked to Eric Dolphy like that. And Dolphy was so humble, man. He didn't even rebel and say nothing. He just took it. Now, me and Moses standing right next to him, we pissed. You did, because this cat had no right to do that. Clifford Jordan, the rest of them, Richard Davis, and all this dude that stood there and grinned. And Moses and I went to this motherfucker's office, man. Dolphy was trying to hold us back. We was pissed. I said, no, man, he couldn't hold neither. We went and died on Douglas' office. Me and Moses, J.C. Moses, never will forget this, man. In that particular year, this is ages ago, and told this motherfucker how he treated Dolphy. We didn't dig it. About the money. It was all about the money. He gonna give him this and come to my office and fuck you and all this shit. This was his attitude. And so we was ready to kick his ass, and Dolphy found out a few seconds later that we was in his office because he could hear us back there like two hungry lions, ready to kick this motherfucker's ass, man, out of the window. And he came back and jumped and ran in the office and said, no, man, he was very humble, man. He wasn't like I would be, like me and Moses was. He wasn't that kind of brother. He was cool, And he cooled Douglas out, and Douglas was scared to death because he thought we was going to throw him out the window because his little office, his back of his chair was towards the window. And me and Moses were really pissed. And if he had to say a few more things, we'd been all over that motherfucker, both of us. You dig? But anyway, this is part of the history on this date. And then Alan Douglas was talking that shit after we was leaving the office, you dig? And Dolphy told us, said, no, I ain't getting no more musicians. I'm going to finish the date with these same cats. And that's it. That's Iron Man.
finally, most of the great players and musicians in New York would come out and hang out with us. And it was great. It grew through the months. You see, that was April right on through May, June. Yeah, we was rolling. We was working at a lot of places in the village, the West Village. Not too much in the East Village. That happened later on, and back in '63. And so Dolphy started coming over to the place, to the studio to practice with her. And that was the great trombonist Gratian Moncur III. He would come over. Don Cherry was over there almost every day. And Charles Moffett, the drummer. J.C. Moses. They had so many cats. Even Joe Henderson. He would come over there. We had this thing going with all the cats in New York come, we play, man. We working on composition, we read scores, we writing. You know, it's profitable, it's fruitful, and very fruitful rather, and productive. And all the cats is working together. It ain't about no ego trip, like I find today in a lot of musicians in the world, especially in New York. I've seen quite a bit of not impressed at all. But these cats work together. And that was a glorious period for me. I'm in heaven with this. I said, this is my life dream, to be around all these great musicians. And they loving me. And Sonny Rollins would come over. And one day, this cat came, I was still living in the West Village on 7th Street, 2nd Avenue. He came over to the apartment one day in a new rental car, kidnapped me for 3 days, drove me over to his pad in Brooklyn on Willoughby Walk, and locked me up in his 4-bedroom apartment. I couldn't get out of that apartment for 3 days. And the telephone would ring while he would have me in captivity with all this wealth. I had most saxophone I ever seen in my life. He had a saxophone in every bedroom down there. Brand new. Selma's, I mean, it wasn't nothing. Great con tenor saxophone, man. I mean, it was elite. And I could play either one of them. You know, we had a ball after the first day and night. Now I got a family. I got my wife with me and my new son, Zarek, and my wife, Barbara Donald. So I disappeared from the trip, man, and one day I'm kidnapped. Second day, and I'm wondering where this cat get all this energy. He would stay up all night, Sonny Rollins did, during that time when I was held as prey with him in his apartment for 3 days. And this shit goes on and on for days. Now the telephone rang, and I'm thinking this cat got a beautiful lady on the hook, and they would talk for hours. And I would practice horn with him all the whole time we were together. He really pushed me to the limits. Get your horn, son, play, come on, Simmons, come on, let's play, come on. And so I would have to obey you, because this is the great Sonny Rollins, you know, of the world tenor saxophone. He was my hero, so I obeyed and done it. And then on the third day, oh yeah, back to the telephone call. I'm thinking he was talking to Broad. And about 3 hours later, on the during this period of conversation, while Sonny Rollins was on the telephone, he called me and said, Simmons, take the phone. Now, I don't know who's on the other end. I'm thinking it's going to be a lady, you know, compliment. It was John Coltrane. This cat would call Sonny Rollins, and they would be on the phone like two winches, gabbing about shit for 3 hours. I couldn't believe it. This is the God's truth. And I saw the love and respect that Coltrane had for the nuke, Sonny Rollins, you dig it? And I matured in a lot of ways when I witnessed that, even though he had me held against, not totally against my will, just sort of surprised, you know. But it was a very interesting experience. And Coltrane would do this almost every day afterwards. After the third day, Coltrane done it again. They would call and they would talk for 3 hours. After the third day, he released me. It was like coming up out of the sepulchre of enlightenment. And enlightenment wouldn't be in a sepulchre. Merci beaucoup, excusez-moi. But it was a glorious reawakening for me to be among these elite musicians of high caliber art of playing the saxophone. Great recording artists, you know. And I've been with Bird. Now, I only saw Bird once, and that changed my life. That was in Oakland also. I think I was about 17, going back into time. It was at the Oakland Auditorium, also in Oakland. I was 17 years old. I was just finishing high school. That's a joke. When I walked into the Oakland Auditorium after that, bought me a ticket and walked into the main part of the room, the auditorium area, rather. And I see this beautiful black man stand up on the stand, the bandstand, in a white suit, playing so much beautiful, glorious music, with so much music coming from out of the saxophone. It was unbelievable, and it was so flawless. I mean, anything he was that he felt in the spirit of creativity at that micro moment, he would play it, and it would be accurate, and it would be the truth, as well as dealing with the great laws of harmony and all the things that you can do between intervals and relate chords. And he was running all of that so perfectly and flawless. I was blown away. Now, I'm still in high school. I'm a young cat, teenager, growing up, and I hear Bird. That was back in, let's say 1950, 1949, I think. Yeah. No, 1951. Could have been back then, but I saw this cat. Changed my whole life. In 1967, at Fillmore East, Coltrane and Arnett was working at Fillmore East at that time, opposite each other. That was in April of '67. That was the last time I saw Coltrane alive. And Archie Shepp was there, David Isaacson, Arnett's ex-bassist. Brother, he wasn't ex then because he was working with him that night. It was a great atmosphere of joy and rejoicing in the theater because two great artists finna perform tonight, man. I missed Coleman's act, but I was there for John, man, and this cat was playing soprano, Brandon. You wouldn't believe this. I don't know if it was stage lighting, but it looked like it was a little bit supersedes that. He had his soprano straight into the bell of it, into the mic, and he's playing this magical web, ancient Eastern mighty shit. It was fascinating. It was like Bismillah, but beyond in technical ability. Just like when you heard this thing the other day, you know, my favorite thing where he was winding the soprano up with that veracity of speed and playing those intervals and scale like that, man, and making sense with it. And he had a halo he had a halo around his head, man. This is what I seen. And his horn was flashed like fire, the bell of the soprano. I don't know if it was lighting for that, but I saw a halo around John at that time. And it fucked me up. Now, Archie Shepp was sitting next to me, and I said, damn, Shepp. I said, man, did you see the halo around John's? And he looked, he said, no, I don't see no halo, son. I said, man, you didn't see that? You don't see that? No, I don't see it. He didn't see it. And it fucked me up, man, because John was playing so much beautiful music, man, the soprano. He killed the whole place down, man. And that was the last time I seen Coltrane perform live. It was in '67 at Fillmore East, 1967, April. And you know what he did, man, that night? Now, I'm having hard times in New York at the time with my family because I got no responsibility to myself back when I was here the first time. And I need some money. So I got $5 in my pocket. After the performance, I was sitting on St. Mark's Place and 2nd Avenue. And he walked by with Alice. Cecil Taylor was in a little eatery joint showcase, and he was blasé with some other people. Alice, Coltrane walked by with him and his wife, Alice. And I'm sitting on this fire plug, man, with my winter coat on. This is in wintertime, you know? And it's cold as a motherfucker, but I never did feel it, man, because I was a young cat and my blood was hot and strong. And Coltrane walked by and he took out 5 $10 bills. And he walked up to me on the fire plug. I'm sitting on the fire plug. I didn't even move. He walked up to me with Alice. And he gave it to me. He didn't say nothing. He didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing. John quietly walked away. He didn't say worship me because I give you $50. I wanted to take the $5, $10 and frame them. Because I didn't ask for it, I was just sitting on the streets, hanging out with the cats in the dead of winter. And Coltrane done that, man, and walked on up the street. That was the last time I seen John. I'm listening to KABC. It was a jazz station in New York at that time. And this cat, beautiful, this DJ, I forget that brother's name, man. He would play the hippies, and he would always play Coltrane, man. And he came on the air that day, man, and I noticed a southern sound in his voice that he had something serious to say. And because he said it first, he said, "I regret to say this to all of you out there, but John Coltrane just passed away last night." Now, I'm through now. This is in '67 now. I'm in my studio and I'm practicing my conga and my saxophone. I'm trying to get over it. And that came over the air, fucked me up, man. So we went back up to Woodstock to chill out after that. That was one of the most heart-wrenching things throughout the world, man, when John passed away like that, you know? So suddenly. But I do remember the Little Drummers with Coltrane back in '65 when he was working in LA when we was living there. When he was working at Club about. He was getting heavy in the gut in his midsection. And he was always concerned about his weight. "I'm losing weight, man. How do I look? How you like my shoes?" I said, "They're great, John, you know?" I said, "You look good, man. You kidding?" And it make him feel good. So, not knowing that the brother was dying all the time because his liver was gone. You dig? And when '67 rolled around and that cat said that, man, it shocked the whole world and fucked up music forever. Cat started doing other kind of shit. There's only few that was left of the prophets, like Archie Shepp, you know, a few of John Chikaya from this another brother tried to hang in there. He had to get it go.
And so what we're seeing, in my opinion, in this time period, is another criteria of reductionism. Reductionism in jazz. Oh, you have to play like Charlie Parker or Louis Armstrong. Question: if that's the case, who was Louis Armstrong and Charlie Parker playing like? In fact, there has been a continuum. It's never been about one person. It's been about people learning from other people. Ben Webster dies. They go into his house. What do they find? They find all the scores of Stravinsky, all the records of Stravinsky. Who would have thought Ben Webster was a Stravinsky freak? You won't read about it in Downbeat, but in fact, much of the history we find ourselves dealing with is not necessarily totally correct.
Back to Birdland in '63 when we was working opposite Dizzy Gillespie's group. At that particular time, our group was called The Cry. Dizzy Gillespie, he had a nice band, you know, but it wasn't really killing me. His attitude was that he would play his set. When Dizzy Gillespie, when it's time for him to come on, when it's time for us to leave, we'll announce Dizzy Gillespie. Out of courtesy for respect as being a real artist, people watch this kind of shit. Now, this motherfucker, he got so fucked up over the music we was playing. The shit was tight and it was right, but he couldn't put it together. He didn't dig it, he rebelled. come up on, he would never even say a damn thing about us. You know, and it created a bad atmosphere. In fact, he chewed Moody out that night because Moody asked me and out away from the bar, he said, "Come here, Simmons, I want to talk to you." James Moody. And he said, "I want to take lessons from you." This is what James Moody told me, man. It blew me away. And I said, this cat's been my idol since I was in my teens, you know. Birdland with Dizzy Gillespie when he had James Moody in the band. So when Moody asked me to give him a lesson, I was blown away. Now he's ready to give me his phone number to call him at this hotel he's staying at. And he want me to show him how to move on the saxophone like that. He was fascinated by it because he don't move like that. And he wanted to get into that groove of moving in modern times. You dig it? So Dizzy curtailed that. He called Moody to the back in the dressing room and chewed him out, man. They was both in the back there arguing. And Moody's not that kind of cat. He's a quiet cat kind of guy, you know. He didn't want no problems. But Dizzy, he was just all over, man. Pissed me off, man. Then he couldn't associate with me no more during the performance. He had to leave the bandstand and go in the dressing room. That was it. Now I'm going to the bar to have a drink like Bird used to do in that same club in this time, you know. Now I'm hanging out at the bar, and all these bad motherfuckers is in the joint. You can't see everybody because it's dark in the place, you know. And Birdland, the old Birdland, the original one, the most coolest one. The second one they have now, man, that's manicured. That's not real.
This is why, in my opinion, Lee Konitz finds himself in such a state of complexity. Because on one hand, and let me be careful with this, because Trisano and the Trisano movement was built on the intellectualism and abstract logics of Lester Young, Charlie Parker, as well as Hindemith. And so we're not talking about races, we're just talking about a culture that can only accept certain domains of qualities, ethnic domains of qualities. And so with Charlie Parker, Ken Burns in his movie emphasized the dope.
So we're back in New York in '60, it's about May. And the studio is going great and all these musicians are coming over. And so one day this cat made a recording of all these guys. Beautiful Clifford Jordan, Don Cherry, Gratian Montcourt, Ag Dolphy, Joe Henderson, Teddy Smith, bassist. Don Moore was playing bass at that time too. Richard Davis came through. And it became a very mysterious accordion because it had all these great musicians on it. And that was during the time that we had this beautiful studio going on. And most all the cats in Manhattan, when they got hip to it, they would come and gather together and we would play. This cat recorded this great record called It Is Revealed. His name is Fred Lima, beautiful cat, and he had a lot of respect for the musician. During that period when we had these mysterious visits from Queen Naima and her followers, the drama became a little bit heavier. the word got out in the jungle that I was having Coltrane's wife, Princess Shades, doing the same thing, and the shit got out of hand. So it scared me, man. I figured it would get to that. That's why I never was involved in it, you know. And I immediately left New York out of respect for all the good that I received when I arrived there until the time that I left. Within that 1 year space of time, few months space of time, it was very active with drummers and elite drummers and music on the highest plane. And I left town, man, because it was getting out of hand with the visits, and Prince and her would be up in the front room, you know, and they'd shut the door and a whole lot of shit be going on. I just felt that I didn't want to be mixed up with that, especially with Coltrane, man. I have too much love and respect for this brother. I didn't want my name to be circulating that I was having these affairs going on with his wife and her cohorts, you know, which was McCoy Tyner's wife and Charles Davis' wife, great baritonists. I left New York simply because of that. So I'm back at home now. This is 63, in the autumn of 63. We're coming into the autumn now. I'm back home with my wife. I'm working on the coast. I'm working in San Francisco, and I'm working at After Hours Joint, Bop City in San Francisco at that time. I'm keeping my music going, indeed, but I'm heartbroken because I wish I was still in New York, because I had to leave because of that drama. And after a while, man, 64 rolls around, you know, I said, damn, I want to change my quintet. I want to change to a quintet. I want to get me a trumpet. Benny Harris, this great trumpet player that used to play with Charlie Parker, was living in Southern California at that time. I'm back home on the coast now. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, Oakland, at the time. I'm heartbroken because of the drama in New York drove me out of that. So I'm working in LA at the IT Club. I think that's the IT Club there. Somebody told me about it was a trumpet lady. A girl could play trumpet, had a big sound, and that all you need to do is just coach her a little bit and she'd be a great trumpet player. And then I heard it from Benny Harris told me the whole truth about it, because he used to be her teacher when she was in high school in Southern California. This chick lived in Encino Valley with all the stars and rich people. Her parents was wealthy. You dig? And she latches on to me for some reason, because I didn't intend to get involved with her sexually, you know, or we'd be lovers. I didn't have no thing about that with her. You know, this is purely from the music. And I'm a young 33-year-old cat, and you dig, and I got plenty of women, you know. And so we were working around. After I go get her, and she comes and hang out with me in San Francisco to play one time. She drove all the way from LA. She heard I was playing in San Francisco. And she came up there and she said, Benny Harris sent her. And I said, I heard about it. And I said, we'll try it out. And we played. It was okay. She was okay. She just needed some coaching, like Benny Harris said. So we wound up being together, man, because the chick was young and beautiful, and she was so talented with the trumpet. She was so open to just jazz music and new music, and she dug all the top trumpet players. She loved Booker Little. You dig? Like I did. Booker Little to me was one of the greatest trumpet players of his time. And even if he was alive today, he would still be the greatest, Booker Little. And so I sort of coached her along the approach of Booker's harmonics and his phrases and shit. And then she went off from there into Freddie Hubbard. And then after that, she left and got into Coltrane. And I said, yeah, she's on her way then. She got it there, man. We was rolling. And so now I get a gig in the elite part of Southern California called Newport Beach, California. They got a club there and they want our act. Because it's a nigga we're playing with a young white lady, and this white lady play a lot of trumpet. So the white folks want to see this act. So I goes and make the gigs in Newport Beach because I'm ready to start some shit on working and playing with something different, you know? And so we played Newport Beach, man. She killed them motherfuckers, man. And them motherfuckers hated me for that shit because it was so intelligently performed and we were so tight and together with our music. And it was a good night for us, man. We made a lot of money in Newport Beach, got a lot of tips. At least she got the tips because she's so young and beautiful at that time. She was dressed attractively and sexual or sensuous, and that appealed to the white male ego, especially them motherfuckers. To see a young, beautiful white chick on the stand with a gorilla, King Kong, and they playing some shit and it's intelligent, but we hate it. They had that kind of attitude, so I didn't give a fuck. And so I stayed in San Diego, man, and guess who was at this party that I didn't even know? The great champion boxer Archie Moore. This motherfucker was in with the mob in Vegas, and he had big property in San Diego, so he asked me to play one tune for him, which was an old tune from the 30s that I remember as a kid called Jumping at the Savoy. And I played that motherfucker so beautiful for him, man. He fell in love with me and gave me a 3-bedroom apartment to stay in free. Now this is after the Newport gig, Beach gig in Elite, California, Southern California. The sheriff followed us all the way out of the motherfucker to the highway because he didn't like that shit. A nigga with a young white lady, you know? And I couldn't believe it. Archie Moore is a great boxer, man. I used to see him when I was a teenager back in the 50s. He's a champion of the 50s. He's a motherfucker, man. And the white gangster mob motherfuckers in Vegas, they love Moore because he made a lot of money for them on the bets on boxing industry. You know what that shit is about. And so this cat, he said, Sonny, all I want you to do for me is every time I come to the apartment with friends or guests, you just play Jumping at the Savoy for me, Sonny. You can stay here as long as you want to, free. Man, that blew me away. I said, look at here. What a gift from a great guy. Now, I'm still on the elite plane. I'm not dealing with local shit. I'm still on the high plane, and I'm rolling, man. This is Archie Moore's property. Everybody in San Diego, they respected Archie Moore, the great champion boxer, and he had bought up a lot of property there. And he gave that to me just to stay on the property, to watch it, because it could become vandalized and a whole lot of shit in that area I was living in. And I upkeep the motherfucker and took care of it, man. And I stayed in San Diego and I groomed the trumpet lady. This is in '64. And I'm working for Archie Moore. And one day he came to the pad, man, with some Vegas gangster mob motherfuckers and 2 pretty showgirls, man, 6 feet, boy, big Amazon white ladies, man. Them heifers was buxom fine and a motherfucker. Man, I have to take a chin-chin on that one, chin-chin world. This is a true story that you're hearing, Multiple Rated X, Parallatic Production. Fine motherfuckers, man, and 3 other cats. I knew they was gangsters because I'm from the streets. I saw too many Humphrey Bogart movies and George Ralph and all of them. I know who the gangsters are. I know how they act and how they look because I done watched a lot of cinema. And so they come in the pad, and Archie Moore is leaving because he's the big black champion. He'll knock a motherfucker down like a mule. So I'm in the house, I'm a young gorilla, and I don't like this shit too much. But the wenches charmed me. They started talking to me because I'm standing there with my saxophone because the boss is here, and I'm going to play his favorite song, Jumping at the Savoy, for the great late Archie Moore. Great champion boxer. Great fighter. This cat, Archie Moore, had so much class, man. I never had an opportunity to be around boxers a lot, but this cat had a lot of dignity in his dress wear. He was modern. and he was well groomed, and he didn't have no broke jaw or closed eye or scarred jaw and that shit. He didn't have none of that shit. This cat man was the immaculate, clean, dignified black man, and he had a lot of class. He speak intelligent. He speak like a boxer that's went on. He didn't come out with that shit. He come out like intelligent and articulate. And I was very impressed with Archie Moore. Me and him could get along because we could talk on that level a lot, and he loved it. And he would call me Young Blood sometimes. He said, Young Blood, you really got a lot going for yourself. The drama went on, man, so I kept working in San Diego, man. We found another place where we could work. And I stayed there for about, damn near a year. Free apartment in Southern California, in San Diego. It was square, a square little town, but I worked there and I was thriving there, you know, and I had a great band. So the shit got hairy, the drama got heavy, so I got offered to come back to San Francisco to work. And me and the trumpet lady, we drove up to San Francisco, man, locked up the apartment, let the shades down, and I left, man. Went to San Francisco and never did come back. I left all my stuff and everything at Archie Moore's apartment, man. I know he was heartbroken, but I couldn't come back after I had trained this girl, and there wasn't nothing else more for me doing that time. You know, if I hadn't got that gig, I'd have still been there. She didn't even look pregnant, but she's pregnant with my son, Zary. I didn't even know it. And then, after a while, I wanted to break off the situation because the drama was getting too heavy. I had no intention of getting involved with her. You know how you get in a situation and you don't want to really be involved with no broad? She was beautiful and buxom and fine and 23 years old, man. The devil would have went for her. But I wasn't the devil. I was just a struggling artist trying to get back on top of where I was in New York. And we got involved, man. It turned out to be a great, hell of a drama, man, and musically together, you know? Because you can see how well she was trained and how tight we were, man. We done that shit night and day. She had more moxie than men. Cats, I get cats to practice, man, as a motherfucker. They don't want to practice. They want to get a gig and get cute, put on a suit and look cute on the bandstand, don't play shit, posing for the girls and all that shit. I'm serious when I hit that bandstand. It's like hallelujah, have mercy, Jesus. Jim. I'm serious that my daddy used to preach in the pulpit in the church. He was the greatest preacher, man. He would have knocked you out, man. Just like you hear me play, this way he would preach in the church. And he would sing a melody, man, from songs out of the Bible and that kind of stuff, man. It would be beautiful, man. He was such a magnificent vocalist, you know. And it was just, shit. There I go, there I go, there I go again. I'm really out of control. Chin chin choo. What do you think about a day in New York like this? Well, nice shot. Thanks, my man.
Oh man, you took care of business. That's class. You got a lot of class, kid. Because of the love of the music, I don't even give a damn anymore. Triple Rated XB, because I love the music. You know, because I was, you know where I was, man. Back in those wild 80s. Boy, that was the best time I had in my life. It was wild. I didn't have shit, but I had a lot of fun. You know? They were playing music on the streets every day, man, for 15 years. Imagine that shit. For 15 years, strung out junkie motherfucker. You dig it? But he ain't standing on the street corner begging with a cup in his hand. I worked for mine for 15 years, 7 days a week. For 15 years, every day, man, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. Now, who could ever, I don't know nobody that have never done a marathon thing like that, because of the desperation and destitution of his life, living in obscurity like I was, man. But the music and the junk kept me rolling, because it kept me active. I had to always have it. I had to always play my horn. And I think that got me ready for Paris, man. My first appearance in Europe. Because it all came together.
And finally, let me add this. I come back, I'm in San Francisco a couple of years later with the quartet. I'm walking in downtown San Francisco. I hear a saxophone player playing. When I start moving towards the sound, it's Sonny Simmons. He's playing on the corner right off of Market Street, a couple of blocks up. He didn't see me. And once I understood it was Sonny Simmons, I backed off. I understood immediately, just as when I saw Calipurusha Difter playing in the subways, or when I played in the Montparnasse or Châtelet subways myself in Paris. I know about the struggle for the music. But I thank the creator of the universe that there are guys who are like totally dedicated, like Sonny Simmons, American masters that you won't see at the Grammy Awards or the Oscars. I mean, you know, every 3 weeks we see some awards show where these people are giving awards to one another. It's beautiful. Hooray for them. But for the zone that I wanted to be a part of, and for the brother and sisterhood that I wanted to connect with, there are no awards ceremonies. And so I say, God bless my friend, Sonny Simmons. He is a toughie wuffy in the American tradition. You had better be tough in America if you want to play this music. Everyone's telling you that you're crazy. You can't get any work. And of course you are crazy. But in the end, the dreams of the future come on the backs of the creative music tradition or the creative tradition, whether we're talking of music, whether we're talking of computer science, whether we're talking of the great athletes, the great mathematicians, the people who were excited and crazy enough to stay with the discipline with love and respect. In my opinion, that's who Sonny Simmons is. He's one of the guys that we can get on his back and have a better life, because he was out there fighting, advancing the music. I bet you he was paid even less than me. I bet you between the two of us, we could only get a half a bottle of wine.
But I took care of myself physically and spiritually by playing on those streets. All those years, I can't even believe I've done that shit myself, Brandon. You know what I mean? Coming from the streets, man, from 1981 until 1994. That's a long time, man. And I play on them streets, Brandon, whether it was raining, whether it was cold in the motherfucker, I'd be out there playing, man. You dig? Hands be chill, frozen, but I still be rolling with it, full of heroin. Yeah. You dig? Standing up, half drunk, but keeping my posture, you know? But I done it anyway, because for one thing, I love to be able to play my horn and the freedom of what I wanted to do without being told by someone, I want to hear this. And if a motherfucker walk up on the streets and want to hear something from me, I charge it.
You know what? I tell you what I think, but I gave you first class dignity. What do you think? I'll tell you what I think.
All of it's true. That's what makes it so beautiful. I don't have to exaggerate nothing. I'm going to tell you straight across the board, Triple Rated X.
That's why Sonny Simmons, this great American, is living in Paris. Because, in fact, he believed in the American dream. That's what we're talking about. The American dream that says the individual and the individual experience does matter. And so for the greater culture, for the so-called mass audience, I'm not surprised that middle class and upper middle class European Americans flock to hip hop, or to a corrupted understanding of bebop, because that's how the culture works. The culture says, oh, Braxton, he's a black guy, and he only goes so far. And when decisions come together at the Brooklyn Academy of Music and the Metropolitan Opera, it won't have anything to do with this domain, because somehow this domain is not even about composite aspirations.
Now, if he done been through a lot of other centuries like I have, pissed off, bitter about a lot of shit in the music world and in the motherfucking entertainment industry, it sucks, man, you know? And I think that shit should change, and I'm gonna have to do my damnness fighting like a mad dog going down before I ain't gonna punk.
You never give up. But when you punk out on the main code, you have nothing. And that's the lesson. You know, all the guys who have tried to sell out in the last 20 years, we know who they are. We never give up, period.
I'm going out fighting with dignity and plenty of respect, self-respect. You dig it? For myself and for those of whom I love. Very few. Oh, yeah, cool. Right on. We rolling. All right, Captain. Always taking crazy chances. The average normal guy wouldn't even dare do it. It'd be one of his nightmares to do the shit I've done in the last 2 years. You hear about it. God gives his spirit to certain people, man. And if you don't have that spirit, the flesh ain't strong enough to carry your ass, you know? You got to have spirit to boost the flesh. And I try to keep that up. You know, that's what's happening. Thank God for Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Ag Dolphin, Thelonious Monk, Duke Ellington, Bud Powell, Charles Mingus, Paul Chambers. I mean, there's so many of the brothers I was with during that glorious period. Sonny Rollins, Richard Davis, Teddy Smith, Roy Haynes, Max Roach, J.C. Moses.
The music like that, it can get away, it can get like some enemies away from you, you know, because you put on your music and they say, oh, I don't like that, man, what is that music? You say, well, this is my music. And then they run away. They wouldn't bother you no more. I mean, you see, he's listening to that weird music and it'll probably save you from like maybe something worse than that, you know, but the music is protective. It has a way of protection, and it wants to protect, you know.
I'm walking the streets talking to myself because I know I can't talk to you. You dig it? This is Sonny done lost him. He's walking the streets talking to himself. You dig it? That's what's happening. Living out of the pawn shop. That's sad. For guys like us in the world. And that goes out to everybody who lives like that. You be rolling, here come a motherfucking jump. Hold it live. What do you mean? Excuse me, boy. How you feel, man? Oh, that's my man. No. He's doing it on me. I'm a big star, you know?
You're a big star in the wrong place, buddy.
Hey, it's okay, man. You sure said that right. Show said that right.
I never
man.
seen a star here. I want his
You
autograph.
ain't kidding, man.
I'm gonna call the cops on him.
You'd be surprised how many stars had to live out of the pawn shop. You know, ain't no joke.
Danny,
you
talk
know?
to me on the side.
Documentary on you?
Yeah, that's what he doing, man. You the
Danny,
wise
talk to me
guy. You the smart guy.
Don't we all sometimes?
I love America. I think America is the greatest country in the history of our species. And I think we have a lot to work with. I also think we've come a long way and that we have much to feel proud about. Sonny Simmons is one of the guys we can feel good about. He's a survivor. Of course, a survivor means he's broke, doesn't have any work, but he has integrity, and he's honest. And he's playing honest, creative music, something that our children know nothing about. At this point in time, my children are being fed a diet that says, I can change my name to MC Pork Chop. MC Pork Chop. Suddenly, I'm a billionaire. And so, what am I saying? I'm saying Sonny Simmons has not changed his name to MC Pork Chop.
But he is hard. He's hard. He's made himself like this. He's he reminds me of something. He's kind of healing in his way. He's made himself hard to be like healing for people even when they're around him. He's so healing for. And his music, when he plays good, he plays so wonderful. But it's almost, he's parasympathetic in his approach to being hard. There's nothing wrong with like what you do, as long as you're doing it to get to a higher place. You're trying to get to a higher level, and there's no fault in that.
I ain't never been no ass kisser, and never will, and I don't admire ass kissers at all. I have disrespect for motherfuckers like that, have to kiss another motherfucker's ass to exist. He didn't create a motherfucking thing. God created everything, man. You don't kiss another motherfucker's ass. You be brotherly and orderly and respectful towards him, and you won't have to do no ass kissing. In the spirit of improvisation, of expressing music, that's the greatest high in the world. It's higher than dope, it's higher than sex. I can't even describe to you. The only thing you don't do, aphrodisiac on yourself sometimes. I know that was a time I was playing so into the spirit of it, I did aphrodisiac. You did? Because that's the greatest high I know, and that's how personal and private and strongly I'm into the music that was given to me by the Creator. I developed my talent 3 years, stayed consistent 3 years, had big ups and downs 3 years. But I tell you, the only thing to survive in the world, if you have a great love for something, you stay with it till the end. That's true love. And I think that since I've invested all this time, 50 years,
there's no turning back for me. There's no side roads or crossroads that I can take now and say I should do something else. I ain't even thinking about it.
Thing about Sonny Sin, I'm afraid of him. You know, he's one of those kind of guys that'll flip on you in a minute. You have to, and see a little guy like me. You know, you try to like, you know, bump me off. You know, I'm hip to Sonny Simmons. He's trying to, so I always have to be on my P's and Q's with this guy. 'Cause, you know, you have to move your bass, man. You got to move out of his way, 'cause he'll like kick it over. He's a mean old man, you know, like that. But it's okay, I understand. He just wants the space clear.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I just misquoted myself when I said we'll be back next fall. I didn't mean that. It was just a little joke. We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm heavily perspiring, so I have to take a break. But we will be back with more exhilarating music.